All right, cut it. Episode 23, the Australian anthem. The Aussies have taken over. Steve, we waited a whole nearly 2 weeks to talk about this Aussie follow Aussie takeover. We have not seen that amount of energy on Twitter, I would say, since March or April. I don't know if you missed it, but it was incredible a couple of weeks ago. We're obviously backtracking sort of 10 days, 11 days ago now, but what a takeover by the Aussies. It's all we could see on Twitter was Aussie follow Aussie.
Oh, yeah.
I was getting Discord messages from people in the US, in the UK, all over Europe saying, what the hell is going on? You guys have hacked the algorithm. Was it you? And if it was, thank you, because this has had a tremendous knock-on effect for NFT Fest. And welcome back to you. We have had a bit of a break and we are now at episode 23. But give us your take on what has happened in the Australian scene over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, it was awesome. I took last week off because, again, man flu. And I wouldn't have been able to speak too much. But that was crazy. I've had probably 5 semi-viral tweets. And all I had tweeted, by the way, I did not start this. This was, who was it? I forget the guy's name.
I would say Boho, guy that goes by the name of @2_Gear, Jear. So it seemed like his tweet sort of organically kicked it off. And then there was Dave Diamond and Aussie Ape that had a pretty viral tweet as well. And then it just caught fire over 2 weekends ago. So
I posted as well after probably 6 to 12 hours of seeing my timeline filled up with Aussies saying, is it Aussie NFT weekend? Only Aussies can answer this. Aussie, Aussie, Aussie. And of course, it was probably my 4th most retweeted and liked tweet. And yeah, it was amazing. There was just Aussies everywhere. We're in a couple of Aussie Twitter DM groups, but I did not know there were that many Aussies in the space. It was fantastic to see. And as you said, great timing for NFT Fest.
Yeah, very good timing. I had a lot of people that reached out to me and said, were you orchestrating this behind the scenes? And I said, I wish
that would have been brilliant.
I wish I could claim it, but no, I will tell the truth. And it wasn't me, but I've got to say I did everything to keep it alive for as long as possible. And the Aussie meta has worn off just slightly, but I would say it's definitely still lingering. I mean, we've run a couple of Twitter spaces the last few Monday nights, Jameson and I, and we had nearly 900 tune in holding at sort of 230, 240 2 Mondays ago. And then this past Monday, we had sort of, we were holding at about 120. We had about 500 people stop by. So it definitely hasn't died off. But 2 weekends ago, I think it was October 9th, a lot of people were saying we should dub that Australia Day for NFT Aussies, or Web3 Aussie Australia Day, I think is the better way to put it. So yeah, just an incredible spaces on that with Boho that we referenced. Also Sean from Project Godjira, who I've got to know really well over the last couple of weeks. Sean's going to be involved with NFT Fest. Vultura was on that spaces. There was a number of sort of notable Aussies, and went for 3 hours, and I think it held at about 900 people across 3 hours with over 4,500 tune-ins. So, the momentum is there. I knew there was a lot of Aussies in the space, but I didn't know that there was that many. And to be honest, the magic of all of it has been discovering people that I didn't really know previously, or I thought maybe they're just in other parts of the world and just happen to be on Twitter at this point in time. There is an incredible amount of Aussies from, Melbourne and Sydney and Perth and Brisbane and all the states all over. And I just feel like this has galvanized the space for the Aussies. And everyone's talking about wanting to get together for IRL events. I went to an IRL event led by NFT Melb and Project Godjira that I referenced before with Sean on Friday night. There was about 70 people there. Really awesome. Again, met about another 10, 12 new people, people that I interact with on Twitter. And yeah, as I mentioned, in terms of sort of my own event shaping up in less than 5 weeks time now, I just think it's a really magical time for Aussies in Web3.
Yeah, big time. And I got limited by Twitter because I followed so many Aussies that I reached the limit on the day. But again, you've got your event. We'll be having the NF Teams event at the Australian Open. we'll be opening it up to any sort of NFT lover as well. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what sort of turnout we get there. But these in real life events are the current meta, I feel, for the Aussie contingent. It's like there's only so much you can do online and getting to know someone, but once you meet them, it completely changes the relationship. So looking forward to meeting all the Aussies over the next 3 to 6 months. Of course, I can't be at NFT Fest, but I'll make sure I'm at whatever's coming up in the future as well. So let's skip to NFT Fest and give me some updates. Have you announced any new people, anything else, and how's it all going?
It's going really well. Obviously, off the bat, I think last time we recorded, Steve, was the day we had announced our first wave of speakers and tickets were just about to go on sale. So we've been on sale for tickets now for just a shade under 2 weeks. What we announced yesterday was one of our first satellite event or networking event, being Barefoot Bowls. So nothing says an Australian
cool.
an Australian event than Barefoot Bowls. So we've got a partner there, Pummel, that are going to be sponsoring that event. That will be made available for everyone that has an NFT Fest ticket. So you can go across, network, have some drinks, do some Barefoot Bowls, etc. We are about to announce something tomorrow, another event, but essentially to give the listeners an idea and the viewers, we'll be having events on the Tuesday evening before the content starts on Wednesday. We'll be having events on Wednesday, as I mentioned, the Barefoot Bowls. There will be 2 events on Thursday, including a major after party, which will be going out with a bang. So we haven't announced that yet, but it is coming. And we'll have an event, essentially 2 events on the Thursday. So the content will finish at, say, 4:30. We'll roll into sort of a networking event, and then we'll have the big party. And on Friday, we've actually got a recovery brunch organized. So
sounds like you need it.
Yeah. And on top of that, there are a lot of organizations that are involved with Aussies in Web3 that are coming, that are going to be running their own meetups and things like that. And I just think the energy that is starting to fester around now for NFT Fest is reaching really, really great levels. And I think that's only going to continue in the next month. In terms of speakers, we will be going out with a second wave next week. And I can honestly tell you it will rival the first wave, if not better, in terms of some of the most notable names you will know of, both locally and globally. So I have been working off a spreadsheet and my nutty professor whiteboard behind me in the next room for the last sort of 4 to 6 weeks and hustling hard to try to get certain people. We've had over 350, close to 400 people apply to speak. My DMs are absolutely shot to bits. I cannot keep up. So it's a difficult process to sift through and to put together a content-led conference first and foremost. But yes, next week, Steve, we will be looping back to this discussion because I think a few speakers that we will have announced will definitely spark your interest, I would have thought.
And we will, of course, have them on the show beforehand as well.
Absolutely. Well, that is the key ingredient, right? When they sign on for NFT Fest, they must sign on.
They must do an Ape Bird.
But we should actually give one of our listeners, Crypto J, a shout out. So Crypto J has a 3D Moonbird as his PFP on Twitter. I definitely know he follows both of us. Crypto J was one of our first listeners for the Ape and Bird show. Now he's based in Perth. He and a friend have actually bought tickets and they're flying over for NFT Fest. So I think that's pretty cool.
Nice.
So shout out to Crypto J.
Amazing work by you. What are the dates? Because you didn't mention that. And where can people buy tickets if they haven't got them? So
23rd and 24th of November are the conference dates in Melbourne at the Alex Theatre in St Kilda. NFTfest.com.au is where you can go for tickets, to get your tickets. We expect it to sell out. Tickets are really starting to move now. People want the content. And obviously, I said we are a conference-led conference, but we will have plenty of parties and a lot of fun, a lot of networking opportunities. So there really is strong value for your investment on the ticket.
Awesome. And you're going to start the next NFT bull run. So 24th, delist all your NFTs.
Yes. Well, speaking of NFT bull runs, I think you've already claimed, but we've got something called Blur that's I can't keep up at the moment. But is this another Looks Rare? Is that what it is?
Oh, I think it's a take on a few. So, yes, it is a marketplace, but I think their major audience, which is not me, are traders. So it's a trading platform with a marketplace and, of course, tokenomics being sprinkled in and everything as well. So, yes, I woke up. Well, I'd started seeing inklings of it on the NFT's Discord, actually, because they've been in beta for 6 months, I believe. And a few people were asking about the platform, how they get invites and so on. So I've known about it for a little bit, but they've opened up to everybody now. So you can connect your wallet, which I did. And then there is an airdrop. And it's based on how involved in the space you've been the last 6 months. So apparently I've bought 28 ETH worth of NFTs and sold 0. So I'm everyone's exit liquidity. But that entitled me to 11 boxes. So they've got this box airdrop thing, and you've got uncommon, rare, and legendary. If you tweet, you get an extra box. So I did. And I got 11 uncommons and 1 rare. Who knows what they're going to be worth? But yes, it's another airdrop. And I guess it's an interesting discussion. And we've talked about this before, how you onboard new users into this space. And Blur seems to have gone about it the right way. Of course, everyone wants their stimmy checks. They've teamed up with all the influencers in the space. And when I say influencers, I mean the okay ones, not the ones that leave and come back when there's another bull market. And the product looks fine. I had a quick look. I looked at my portfolio. And yeah, it looks fine. I'm not a trader, so it's probably not going to appeal to me. But yeah, another product, which is fantastic. What were your thoughts after initially seeing it?
Yeah, so I definitely haven't claimed yet. I feel like I just saw it sort of pop up in my Twitter feed this morning. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things we've seen sort of open DAO. We've seen looks rare over the journey, haven't we, with these type of claims? And I feel like we haven't seen one for a while. And when I always think of it, I do go back. My mind takes me back to periods of bull runs. So I like it just in terms of the sentiment that it can that it can bring. So yeah.
All those airdrops last Christmas were fantastic. What was it? Open DAO, looks a bit after that. There were 3 or 4 ENS domains. It was a fantastic time. But I believe this platform does have 0% market fees, and they're going to use their token as an incentive to pay royalties. So they're trying something different, and we're going to get on to Magic Eden later on. But we are going to see all these new ideas and everything. And eventually, OpenSea has this massive lead, of course. They probably won't ever get caught up. But value adds that new sites can add, such as your portfolio with a price. I think Coinbase tried it with a community and failed miserably. But there will eventually be a killer app that does everything we want in this NFT space that you just go to. You can buy, sell, check out other people's collections, see your profit and loss statement, even get a tax statement or something like that, have chats, be able to talk to owners. So it's all coming, and this is just another little brick in the wall, I guess.
So I just want to loop back on the influencer thing for a second, Steve, because this is sort of like one of those live moments on the show. So one of our other listeners, Rippy, goes by Rippified, at Rippified on Twitter, has sent me a DM, and he was helping me with a contact for NFT Fest, and he has just said, Beanie is back.
Oh, no, he's not.
He's not?
I saw the tweet. It's a fake account.
Well, Beanie is currently on a Twitter Spaces with 1.8 thousand listeners right now, with some of the other big notables. And the title of the Spaces is called Capitulation. So here we are pumping up everything, and Beanie could be back. So we're breaking news here on this on the Ape and Bird show here.
I don't know if he blocked me or I blocked him. I don't see anything of Beanie, so that's interesting. I'll have to go have a look after we get off this.
Yes. So anyway, back to the show. But I just thought that was a very, very interesting note that I just saw.
Yeah. So let's move on to our favourite influencer, TimTim. And of course, we mentioned the TimTim Twitter account a while ago, and you had to sign up to his mailing list, which I've been a member of since day one. And then he's now put up a pre-mint page. You said to me, "Oh, how cool was what he wrote?" And I said, I don't read anything. I just click apply. So I applied for his pre-mint. But can you tell us a bit about the TimTim mint and what it might be? And a little bit more about TimTim.
Yes. Well, I want to bring up, here I am not prepared, but I loved the copy on the pre-mint. Have you got the link there, Steve? I'm struggling to find it. But ultimately, I think it was it's called 555, is it? No.
It really is, which Gary V is probably extremely
I was about to say.
So premint.xyz/Tim gets you there.
Pre-mint.
It will close October 21st, so you've got until tomorrow, luckily. I have registered. So while you're getting that up, I'll talk about another pre-mint.
Yeah.
I am I've got a lot in the 10K FT project, which is Beeple-led and We Knew. They had a drop for Cagney, I believe it's called. So I think 888 of these physical and digital NFTs. I was lucky enough to win the pre-mint. So I've minted, and it's a cool looking case. So one of the things Beeple does really well, and we've seen last week that he's just created a massive build-in where he wants to show that NFTs can also be seen in the real world and not just on a screen. So his packaging for all his everydays is also amazing as well. So this is a sort of, I don't know if it's a holographic or something. It's a big circle, and you'll be able to put one of your NFTs in there that's linked to 10KFT. So I bought one of those, and then that comes with their store, a hoodie. And if you've seen the 10KFT hoodies and shoes and so on, the initial reason I got into that project was because they look fantastic, and I was told that eventually the physicals would be purchasable. So I can't wait for my Gold Ape hoodie from them, and the shoes once they become available as well. So back to, I hope you've got that page up now.
I do. So Project 555. So I agree with you that that Gary V's 5 and favorite number, that is quite funny. But reading the pre-mint, and I'm definitely going to try to mint if I'm lucky enough to get a spot. We should tell the listeners it's 0.5 ETH, and they will have till, I'm just trying to see, registration closes
until tomorrow,
22nd of October here. So that could be, so you pretty much got another 2 days, I would say, but don't leave it too late. And I'm saying that to remind myself as well. I have not done the pre-mint yet. But there is going to be a limited, he's saying a limited supply of roughly 8,500. So it's still a big number.
How much is he taking in there?
That is going to be a lot. What was
it, 8,800?
8,500 at 0.5 ETH.
Oh, okay. Let me do the proper match.
So while you're doing that on your old calculator there, Steve, I'm going to read
5.5 million.
Okay,
US.
There you go. Wow. Well, it says as the little copy within the pre-mint here. If you're a trader who expects free money by yelling on the internet when you're unhappy, please do not participate in this project. In fact, if you're a dick online at all, please sit this one out.
That rules me out. Damn it.
There are plenty of other NFT projects that will promise the moon, and you can harass them. I promise nothing other than number one, good art, in my opinion. 2, perhaps some entertainment and a few laughs along the way. And 3, aiming to do some good with the Seisao Foundation. How do you pronounce that?
Not on the page.
Seisao. I'm just going to say, I think I originally read it as Sensei, but it's Say. Oh my God, this is tough. And he says, that's it. And so if this sounds interesting to you, here we go. And you can sign up to the pre-mint. So obviously not financial advice on this show, and never is, but I will be signing up to the pre-mint because I'm very interested in having probably Tim with his podcast influence a lot in my life over nearly 10 years now. I'd say he's been doing the pod. So yeah, it's one of those.
The 4-hour work week is much older than 10 years.
Yeah.
There's a couple of those books on the bookshelf. All his books, really, 4-Hour Body, 4-Hour Everything Else. But 4-Hour Work Week was one of the first books where I was like, oh, wow. And I was semi-doing it because I was moving to other countries and working and traveling and all that sort of stuff. But he was the first to put it into book form and explain really well how to do it and the opportunity that we all have now. So it was well ahead of its time. But because of COVID and being able to work from home now, everyone sort of live in that 4-hour work week now. But yeah, both of us have been following Tim for a long time. And I mentioned last time, he started a similar project with our NFTs once before, and he hated it. So I worry that he might repeat here, but by saying, look, it's nothing more than you get some art, maybe you get something with me, and it sounds like he'll be donating a big chunk of it to this charity. So it's interesting. I'll try to mint. If I get on the pre-mint, I'll mint as well. But yeah, with Kevin as a mate who would be nonstop talking to him, you assume there'll be more to come.
Yeah, and I should mention too, on the site, it actually says that the mint price isn't finalized, but it says you'll have to have at least 0.5 ETH in your wallet. So, but you would think if they're doing 0.5 off the get-go, it's going to be somewhere in that range. Maybe it ends up being 0.4. I don't know. But yeah, that particular foundation that I have butchered the pronunciation of, I believe is actually to do a lot with psychedelic research that Tim's obviously been beating the drum of. Yeah. So,
and like that's another interesting part. I think I took magic mushrooms a long time ago. And then after Tim, I had these thoughts that they were amazing and they would help. And then Tim got into it massively. So I was like, yeah, my thoughts were right on there. Be safe if you're going to do magic mushrooms.
Oh my God. What kind of disclaimer do we need now? Where's he going with this?
I thought they were awesome. I can see how they would work in the ways Tim's advocating for. And I can't wait for more research to come out on, what is it? Psilocybin. Psilocybin. I always get the word wrong. Yeah. All right, talking about Tim's best mate, Kevin.
Yes.
And also linking to Fidgetals, which is your favourite word. Moonbirds, Gold Nest Day. Are you gold nested?
I am gold nested across my 3 Moonbirds. So, but I tell you, it's something I hadn't thought about until this morning when I saw a few Moonbird holders talking about it. Is there going to be a premium on Moonbirds that do not claim any of their rewards?
Of course.
Right. So I must admit, I hadn't even thought about that. So I think I still have one Moonbird that hasn't claimed. I've only claimed the bronze reward, which was the caps and the stickers.
You didn't get your fanny pack.
Not yet.
I want you rocking that at NFT Fest.
I honestly have just had no bandwidth to do my degenning, right? And just sort of doing my my TLC of my portfolio. It's been just all stuff that has involved not my own portfolio, which to be honest is probably a good mental health break, right? In terms of like just not worrying about what price is doing and what the floor prices are. Like I'm just sort of on the sidelines for the most part at the moment. But Gold Nest Day today. So they are giving out a free infinite objects frame with an animated Moonbird, your animated Moonbird on that frame. So the sentiment I've seen, even from some of Moonbirds and Proof's biggest distractors that I know quite well, has actually been reasonably positive. So I think it's been met with positivity. But interesting, Steve, I will say, like, I don't know, maybe it's a little bit of alpha for our listeners. Like, I don't think it's going to be the only gold Nest reward that I get personally. So maybe I can share a little bit more on what that looks like next week.
Oh, so you get a diamond reward as well.
Maybe.
Oh, I can't wait for next week, even though I know what it is. My question is, when's the next Nest in? Is it 365 days?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, 360 or 365. Yeah, okay. which is diamond.
Yeah, I have seen the sentiment online, and this was probably a worry for a lot of Moonbird holders because the first two had a lot of negative feedback. Then CC0 happened, CC0, sorry, and there was a lot of FUD going around.
Yeah.
But I've got a couple of infinite objects. I got a Beeple one with my Bull Run, Ferocious, and a couple of others, and they're fantastic products. And especially for, I think they're about $100, and you can get any NFT put on them. And these ones are being animated by a community member, right?
Yep.
So he's doing animations for all 10,000. So I think this is a really cool piece that you can have on your desktop that is always there. So yeah, the sentiment from my side as well, it was a pretty good reveal for the gold.
Yeah, I think so. Look, it's been a couple of hours since they announced it, and the floor price has essentially stayed still. And I think in this market, that's actually a win, right?
That's a win.
Like it's more like fingers crossed that it doesn't dip. But who knows what'll happen in the coming days.
All right, more news. So your favorite actor because of this is Anthony Hopkins. Was that the Clarice thing?
Make sure if you just heard Steve slurping, make sure you go to the YouTube version of this show about 26 minutes in and watch the actual visual of that. So, because that's what I just had to live through.
My poor wife that has to see that every day. This is the ASMR version.
This is I don't know. We've never made an edit. We've never made an edit before on this show, but I think we might just have to after that. Anthony Hopkins. Let me take over for a second. So Anthony Hopkins, well-known actor and celebrity, obviously. Yes, Anthony minted out a collection. Has been making quite the splash on Twitter with his videos. They definitely. I feel like the reason I think we wanted to note this just very briefly, Steve, was there's ways that celebrities can come into the Web3 space and setting up an NFT drop in a good way, and there can be ways that are done very, very poorly.
Well, name one that has done a good drop.
Celebrities?
Yeah. Exactly. There's your answer.
No. I was going to say Jim Carrey.
Jim Carrey.
Yeah, Jim Carrey.
Yeah. But I haven't looked at the
Tim Ferriss, or you wouldn't count him.
We haven't seen.
No, but I'm saying he did do the Grails one, right?
True.
I suppose it depends.
I'm saying their own project with a roadmap and so on. Jim Carrey was art-based, and he's always been an artist. I'm talking more 10K style projects that we've seen rappers, basketballers, just your general celebrities come in and create.
Well, what about Snoop?
Hype it up.
What about Snoop?
But the Snoop actually, he had his Sandbox, which didn't do well. He had, I think, Gala, which didn't do well. Yep. He's had a few. Snoop is a fantastic part of the NFT space, but he's actually dropped a few. I bought his song with ApeCoin. But yeah, so
Paris Hilton?
Trying things. Yeah. Did you say there was a Paris Hilton Nifty Gateway collection a long time ago? I remember Elon Musk's wife, I forget her name now, ex-wife, Grimes. I had purchased all of her ones. But yeah, so for me, every celebrity that's come in, not so well. I'm still waiting for that one. And you can't say Kevin Rose is a celebrity, really. I'm talking about celebrities.
Sure. Well, Anyway, let's just give a quick shout out to Anthony Hopkins and move on. So well done, Hoppo.
That was my worst section ever. That was good. It started well and ended well.
Okay, we're going to get you to redeem yourself now. Magic Eden, we spoke about Magic Eden a couple of weeks ago with their decisions, sort of, or their thought process around royalties. They put out a tweet thread on the weekend. I believe you might have been on their spaces that they did, Steve, on Saturday or Sunday. To me, I haven't dug into it, but it looked like a reversal of their initial decision. Is that sort of your take on it?
Yeah, I think I went in there for a couple of minutes. But yeah, a couple of weeks back, they said, we would never take royalties. And of course, it's like, NFT creators deserve their royalties, so on. And then 2 weeks later, we're removing royalties. I believe their decision was based on that this is where the market's going. I sort of agree with them there. And for them to stay competitive, this is just something they had to do. At the same time, they said, of course, we're taking marketplace fees away until we figure out a way. But, of course, marketplace fees are going to come back for them. But we're seeing with Blur today, and I've mentioned it a million times, eventually we're going to get to a 0.5 or at least under 1% market fee. OpenSea will be the last to move only when they see their market share being eaten up properly. It hasn't so far. But yeah, it's a shame because they've dealt with it very poorly. I was hoping Magic Eden would be for the artists, for the space, and so on. This reeks of, well, they've got VC funding. Of course, they've got to make a profit. They've got to figure out ways to make money. They were losing market share, so they had to try something. It's, I don't know. I don't really care about the Solana platform, but Magic Eden had gone into ETH and a few other things. I won't be listing any of my projects on there. Not that it matters. But then it opens up the bigger question. And again, I thought we were over the royalty talk a month ago. That was a big thing. And then, it's come back again. And there are options. In our next contract, we'll probably copy the Tyler Hobbs thing with QQL and being allowed to sort of blacklist certain sites and exchanges from selling ours. Of course, NFTs launched our own 0% royalty and marketplace fees for a limited time. Eventually, marketplaces, yes, will be 0%, and we're seeing it with Blur now. Royalties is such a tough topic to figure out, but just turning them off completely seems wrong. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, so I can't remember who it was. It might have been Clouted Mint, who's an Aussie in the space that did a Twitter thread on Saturday or Sunday about the decision. And there were some thoughts around, or I might be getting confused with Twitter threads, but anyway, essentially the basis of it was maybe a workaround. This is to create almost creating different forms of NFTs within the community, where the creator or a project founder like you, Steve, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, is, if someone buys an NFT and is willing to pay the royalty as the buyer rather than the seller, then essentially they get additional perks from the NFT, opposed to someone that wants to be a little bit cheaper and not pay that royalty. Now, I understand the experimentation and the thoughts around that, but to me as a collector, and I'll throw to you as a founder, it sort of starts to split collections of sort of like almost the haves and the have-nots, and all of a sudden, when you're looking at a floor price, is that the floor price on the people that are not paying the royalties when they've bought in, or is that the floor price on the people that are paying the royalties? So you're almost creating two classes of collectors within your NFT collection. I think that there's so many nuances to NFT collections already around, rarity and this and that I personally, my sort of knee-jerk reaction when I read that was like, I don't like it because it's going to split it's going to cause tension, I think, within communities as well. As a project founder of a 10K collection, what's your thoughts on that take, and does it add, even further complexity to you as a founder?
Yeah, it does. And every project is different. But I mentioned before, we're at NFTs, I'm trying to find other revenue sources from day one. Royalties for us aren't a huge deal. We're very close to 1,000 ETH turnover on OpenSea. So what's that? 50 ETH, 100K Aussie. Yeah. Not really moving a needle once the project's huge, and then that's over a year. But from our project's perspective, there are certain things we can do. So our players, of course, are going to have stats. The teams have stats as well. So if someone decides not to pay the royalty, we could easily just make their stats go to 0, and then they have to keep playing. So they start at a worse position than if they bought. But it's difficult because you don't want to onboard someone and then piss them off straight away. And it's not their fault. They might not even know that the royalty hasn't been put onto it. It's more the seller that should be paying the royalty. But of course, if you're selling and leaving and you've got the option not to pay a royalty, of course you're going to take that. So there are so many different ways we can go. It would be easy if it was just contract level. And as we've said before, eventually there will be a contract that implements it. But until then, it's just testing things out. And from my point of view, I'm just going to leave it. We're not big enough to worry about royalties or anything like that. And these bigger projects will eventually figure it out, and then we'll piggyback off them. We might try to do some unique things as well. But yeah, it's just another little issue to deal with and figure out over the next couple of years.
Yeah. So while we are talking about sort of royalties and marketplaces, you mentioned it briefly before, NFTs, and it is hard to remember what we've mentioned on this show because it feels like so much has happened in the last fortnight, Steve. But you did launch a royalty-free marketplace for NFTs, and then I think it was Frank de Gods from D Gods and Utes that came out with a statement that it was essentially stealing your thunder, and you sort of what I perceived as might have just been poking the bear a little bit to maybe create a little bit of a Twitter spat. Is that correct?
I try. I'm like low tier. I've got 26,000 followers, so I'm low tier NFT Twitter, and I think Frank. I'm not a fan, to be honest. And of course, this whole Utes thing where they didn't even have the art ready, they still don't, and they sold out the entire thing. So anyway, he came out, and I believe he must have had a call with Magic Eden and them saying, we're going to 0%. So he tried to front run that by saying, we're doing 0% royalties. And the Gods had a 33.3% royalty early on. But he's come out and said, we're the first to do 0% marketplace royalty, blah, blah, blah. And of course, nobody knows NFTs apart from a very small community. And so I just retweeted and thinking, let's see if he bites, because getting into a fight on Twitter with a more well-known Twitter personality will, of course, help NFTs and build up my Twitter profile. I'm sure he gets 1 billion retweets and people trying to start fights. Didn't reply, so that one died away pretty quickly. But yeah.
So what about CryptoPunks and Meebits? Because weren't they on Lava Labs?
So crypto, I had posted, we are the first and then _second when we posted about it. But yeah, CryptoPunks have been 0% from day one. And they were the only one for the longest time. And of course, Meebits were on that platform as well. But I'm not sure that Meebits had 0% on Lava Labs. But yeah, so we were the second. We got in second, and now you just see non-stop all of these marketplaces opening. Of course, we went with Snag Solutions, which is doing the Apes marketplace. And this was more a promo for the first 3 months or whatever. It will move to a 0.75% market fee. But with everything happening in the space, by the start of next year, when that was meant to come in, I'm sure we'll be able to get it lower, because otherwise the product's just not going to compete with all these others. But in saying that as well, after we released the marketplace, probably 80% of sales were on it for the first week. And now you just see them back at OpenSea. Everything's still selling at OpenSea. We had someone capitulate yesterday. So over the last 24 hours, we've had 60 odd sales of NFTs all on OpenSea. But yeah, it's just something you've got to work with. And as we mentioned, it's going to go to 0% market fees, and then the royalty thing we have to figure out over time.
Yeah. I think just looping back on Meebits, because I bought a few Meebits early on in the piece and was sort of making offers and things like that. It was one of the first non-OpenSea marketplaces that I actually used. I'm almost certain it was 0% on the Lava Labs marketplace, but since Yuga purchased Meebits, they introduced they put a 5%. Yeah. So very, very interesting. So why we are talking about Yuga, I can't remember if it was this week or last week, Steve, but there is an SEC probe into Yuga, and is it ApeCoin and Otherside that's sort of the ones that are being spotlighted the most?
Yeah, I haven't looked into it enough, but I believe it is the token sale and then the Otherside sale. So if we all remember that heady time of, what was it, February, March of this year, the Otherside sale, I think they're looking to see if that was a security sale. We all had to KYC to buy, use the Ape token to buy. So I believe, and this again, people get worried, and there was lots of FUD. Oh, they're suing Yuga and so on. No, this is just a general thing that the SEC does when it doesn't understand a new category. So they're looking into how it was set up, the legals behind it. And I've heard a few people say this, but this is the company you want them looking into. Yuga are the biggest in the space. I believe it's 60% of all NFT volume are Yuga assets. Yeah. So you want them with the best lawyers, the most money, A16Z behind them, and so on, to be the ones talking to the SEC, explaining how they've constructed their token, how they did the other deed sale. And what will happen, SEC will look into it, figure out what's legal and what's not. If they deem it illegal, there'll be a fine, they'll pay it, and then it will give us clarity for every other project in the space on what we can and can't do. And I remember more than a year ago, we had all these projects releasing tokens. Hell, I'm wearing an old Top Dog Beach Club. Now, this is way back in the day. They had released their own ERC20. They were smart enough to change it to not a crypto token very quickly. But we had Subducts, Gorilla. There was
Subducts was Vault.
Subducts had Vault. But then you had Milk, you had Banana, you had all these tokens coming out as sort of stake your NFT, get a token. And I said it from the start, these are all securities. They're going to get in a shitload of trouble. Yep. And people were asking NFTs when token and so on. But now, because this was always going to come, it's great that they're looking at Yuga. We'll get some real laws in place. And then, if the laws look good, the other issue is, of course, this is just for America. I don't know what the Australian ASIC or the ATO or whoever looks after it in Australia is going to say. Hopefully they piggyback on whatever the SEC comes up with. But then that will give us, and me personally, guidance on what we can and can't do related to tokens, sales, securities, and so on. Yeah.
No, I mean, some of the more trusted voices that I follow on Twitter, the sentiment was sort of, don't panic. This is actually a net good thing for the space overall. So, yeah, very interesting. So let's segue actually to New Zealand women's rugby. So they actually purchased a World of Women Galaxy NFT for all of their players. as a little bit of a, I suppose, pay homage to the space. And I actually had a Zoom with the person orchestrating that buy behind the scenes. Her name is Leanne Batts. So we're hoping that Leanne is actually going to be coming out to NFT Fest next month. But certainly Leanne is, having had a convo with her, she's very deep into the space. I would say that she wouldn't mind me saying she's a bit of a degen on the side. She likes the space. So I mean, this is obviously, to me, it's sort of it signals like we want to enter the space authentically and pay respect to what's happening on the cultural aspect of Web3 and NFTs, rather than just sort of sign a deal with some random agency that no one's heard of. Like, what are your thoughts when organizations do something like this? I mean, it does have a little bit of a sort of gimmick tactic involved to it.
There's marketing, there's PR. But this is, I agree, this is the right way to dip your toes in for any sporting sort of organization. And as you said, you only need one NFT degen in the organization to know the space and to do something like this. So this says, well, this signals to me, New Zealand women's rugby are thinking about NFTs. Very likely there's going to be a project in the future. But hey, we're here. We understand the space. We know that World Women's fantastic project. And fair enough, the players would probably have no idea they now own one. But it's just great that they've matched up a project that works with their team as well. Yep. So this is the right way to start in the NFT space for any sporting organization.
Yeah, agreed. I reiterate that cultural aspect, and I think that that's what a lot of people that are entering the space miss, especially like you said, if they're not being advised or they don't have someone on staff that is in the degen and lives and breathes this space. Like the amount of people that I actually spoke to that are in your favorite platform, Steve, the LinkedIn mafia, that did not have a clue what happened with that Aussie wave on Twitter was remarkable, right? Like, and when you're not on Twitter and you don't understand what's happening there, it's a vulnerability.
Oh yeah, big time.
Yeah,
it's a real shame. I see it's probably my biggest pet peeve in the space, because both of us, we love sport and NFTs, so that's my wheelhouse. And I just see all these sporting organizations making the same mistake time and time again, just being infatuated by the business speak of these Web3 agencies and signing on to something that is a net negative, not only for the Web3 space, but for their own brand. So, yeah, hopefully we can fix that in the coming years.
Absolutely. So let's talk Kodas and Artifact. Did you see that tweet? Did you see where do you sit on sort of the speculation of what's happening there between Artifact and Yuga?
Yeah, so my bags for both of those projects are extremely heavy, so I hope they both win. But if people saw Artifact's recent video, so the next step, another airdrop, fantastic, another stimmy check for Artifact holders. It looks like an egg. And their new characters, which is a concern as well, because there's already 20,000 clones. Is there going to be maybe 100,000 of these eggs? Because if they're going to airdrop them, they're also going to sell extras. And I guess this is their Pokemon moment or play. But if you saw, there was a Clone X and then some sort of shark security character. And then at the end, something that looked very, 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 very much like a Koda.
Yes.
Now, I put up a tweet asking a poll saying, did Artifact rip off Kodas? Are they working with Bored Apes? Or we don't know enough at the moment. The majority said they've ripped off a Koda. Back in the day, so a year ago, Artifact and the Bored Ape guys were pretty close. There was meant to be a shoe come out. And then, of course, they got bought by Nike. BAYC seemed to get in bed with Adidas. So then you've got that competingness. So my assumption is that this is their own character, which isn't a Koda, which looks very similar to a Koda. So there's going to probably be, and it's good to have sort of wars. So there will be a BAYC versus Artifact war. And yeah, it's interesting. I think the characters look cool, of course. But the other thing with Artifact that came out yesterday, so a while ago, probably a month ago, they changed one of the NFTs to a LeBron lookalike and sent it to his wallet. So LeBron is a Nike athlete. He just released a video on Twitter where he's talking about his 20th season in the league, and the NBA started yesterday. Oh, and just on that, all NFT owners got a free bet from one of our sponsors, SXBet, by just holding an NFT. So you got 82 USDC for free, but enough shilling of NFTs. So anyway, this ad was LeBron's 20th season, and he's versed Dr. Time now because he's getting old. How long can he compete? In it, he mentions that, he can compete a lot longer than you think. And there's very pixelated imagery going back to gaming, and it links back to the .swoosh website from a long time ago. If people remember that, Nike bought .swoosh.eth.
Yep.
And it's looking like, my assumption and a few other people's assumption on Twitter is that this character of LeBron will now go into the CloneX world, where, of course, there might be sports being played, and he'll be able to continue to compete in this metaverse world. So I believe that info is meant to come out tomorrow. So that'll be very, very interesting. But yeah, the Kodas look like a direct rip-off. What did you think when you saw it?
I thought it was a Koda, but amazing investigation work by you there with the LeBron thing. I had actually not stumbled upon that information or seen any tweets about that, so I honestly found that very, very fascinating. What you just painted.
It's going to be interesting tomorrow. That was just one guy's tweet that I regurged. Yeah. That's not my findings.
Amazing. All right. Well, let's talk about Spartan races very, very quickly. I feel like I'm about to have a coughing fit here, so apologies to our listeners. But Spartan race, I just want to give this a quick mention, Steve. This was the Unbreakable Pass NFT. I have done some Spartan races in the past, so unlocking sort of essentially benefits with a Spartan NFT, including sort of events and obstacle racing, trail running, all that kind of stuff. But the reason I wanted to mention it is, it does feel like we're moving the chains forward. We're getting a lot of traction now with brands being interested in the NFT space, but geez, the sentiment and the comments on Twitter in particular, Spartan Race got absolutely destroyed by just saying they were doing an NFT. So, I'll just read a few here that I've just got off the top. New scam just dropped. This isn't your market, chaps. Stick to what you're good at, managing races. You're a little bit late to the NFT game. Everyone knows it's a scam now. This is quite incredible.
Good sentiment there.
Absolutely. So I'd encourage anyone, if you want a good laugh, to a scam on top of another scam, and then it's got scamception here. So there's a new word I've heard, scamception. Scamception. Yes. So,
wow. Well, here's the thing. This is, of course, we've mentioned it before. Any club or league that says we're doing NFTs, you go in the comments and you get these sort of things. So we need, as a community, like we had with the Aussie, going back to the top of this podcast, if there is a project that gets into the space that we all feel is trying to do the right thing, we should, as a group, be in their comments saying, congratulations, well done, being excited about this project, and you drown out all the negativity as well. So that's probably one thing that's an issue in the NFT space, because we're all segregated into our sort of tribes. You've got Moonbirds, you've got Bored Apes, you've got everyone in their mini silos, and we need sort of pretty much we're a nothing. We're this tiny percentage of people. So we all have to come together sometimes and rally around certain projects, which is hard to do because you're not protecting your bags then. Yeah. But it'll be interesting. Eventually, I hope there's one big company that seems to be doing it right that the whole community just gets behind.
Yeah, absolutely.
NF teams.
Here's two to round out the comments. NFTs are so totally pointless, but this one, of course, what could we do without? Screenshot the image, worth more than the NFT scam. So shout out to Dave who made that comment. I'm sure he's a listener of the show. But that really, unless you've got anything else, Steve, that sort of rounds out our show. We had a lot to catch up on after 2 weeks off. 1 week off, I should say.
1 week off.
Yeah, 1 week off, but we've had a lot go down in the last 2 weeks. So yeah, it's been good to catch up and get a show under our belt.
Yeah, it's great. And it seems there's a little bit of life coming back into the NFT space. So really exciting. Looking forward to next week and we see what happens in the next week.
Absolutely. And as we say every week, we'll attempt to, this is not financial advice. Whatever you hear on this show is for educational and promotional purposes only. It will never be financial advice. And we appreciate you listening and tuning into episode 23 of the Ape and Bird Show. And we will be back next week.
See you all later.